Okay, cool. So,
Wait,
greetings to everyone who's joined us today for the last.
wait for
Okay,
I
right.
just check YouTube link.
Yeah, just give me a head start and I'll start.
Yeah, it's okay.
Are we good to go?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yep, it's fine. Yep, I see YouTube is fine. Yep,
Yeah, good.
right. All right. Yeah. Again, I welcome everyone who's joined us for the last session of Association of Quaternary Researchers ECR web series, both via Google Meet and our YouTube channel. I'm Ayush, one of the AOQR's ECR members, and I'll be moderating the session today. And just a brief, we have had a fantastic run so far. We've had some interesting talks in the past, and the last one, which was delivered by Dr. Midhun, it attracted over 200 people. So we've been doing quite well. And before we begin today, we have some housekeeping rules. So I request all of you to ensure that your camera and microphone are off so that you don't accidentally turn anything on during the talk. Secondly, please also be careful to not share your screen accidentally, which causes unnecessary interruption. And lastly, we have reserved some time for questions and discussion in the end. And it would be nice if you could type in your question in the comments box, and our ECR team will collate your questions and queries, both from Google Meet and YouTube boxes, and we'll have a discussion after the talk. So let's begin. We're very pleased to have Dr. Santosh Shah from BSIP today, who will be speaking on dendrochronology and its application in climate research in the Himalayas. I'll just start a brief introduction. He's currently scientist D at Birbal Sahni Institute of Failure Sciences, and he's carried out tree ring research studies in India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Russia. He's published over 50 papers, and 45 of which have been included in reputed national and international journals. He's also been involved in the supervision of 8 MSc students and 2 PhD students. In addition, he was the resource person or course instructor of dendrochronology in various training programs organized in India and abroad. He has received various recognition for his research work, some of which include he was the first recipient of P.S. Venkatachala Memorial Gold Medal in 2008, Young Scientist Award in 2006 from DST, Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2016, and he's also received the prestigious INSA Bilateral Exchange Fellowship to conduct fieldwork and research in China in 2019. He's also a member of several associations, and he currently presides over the Dendrochronological Association of Asia, and he's also our treasurer. So over to you, Santosh.
Thank you very much, Ayush, for a nice introduction. And so now I have to start the talk. In fact, the last talk of this webinar series of AOQR and ECR. So I hope everyone will enjoy. And let me present my screen. Is it okay now? Shall I start now?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. Okay, good afternoon to all of you. So I'm going to talk on the topic Introduction to Dendrochronology and its application in climate research in the Himalayas. So let me first start with a common phrase of nowadays. Am I audible? It's okay. It's just a fun.
Yes, you are. Yes, it's all good.
Okay, let's go. So if you everyone, if you cut dead trees, or even if you see a felled tree in a jungle or in a forest or anywhere, you see in some of the trees there are some circular structure, and those circular structures are nothing but it's a growth ring of a tree, and which we sometimes call annual rings and a growth ring also. Why this is growth ring and annual ring? There is a differences because every tree or a plant produce a growth ring, but all those growth rings are not annual. I mean, that means the ring which is formed in 1 year is called an annual ring. Let me go further, and the branch of this. Okay, so the branch of science that deals with the study of these kind of tree rings are called dendrochronology. So dendrochronology is came from two different words. One is dendron, that is from the Greek word tree, and the chronology, which we every paleoclimatologist knows, that is the chronos means time, and logy the study of. That means the assignment of dates to particular event in a time series. That is a dendrochronology science. If you closely look the anatomical structure of a one particular rings, it has some like this, the white portion and the dark portion. This white band or white portion or a lighter color part of this ring is called early hood. This is looking lighter in color because the cells are very thin and large in diameter. And those portion which are in dark color, that is late hood. This is late hood because the cells of this area are thicker in wall. They have a small diameter. That's why it appear dark in color. So both this early hood and late hood, if we combine, that will form a one tree rings. That is annual rings. So what does this tree rings tells us? In fact, we know since long back, Leonardo da Vinci, he called that rings in the branches what suit trees shows the number of years. That is, according to their thickness, the year which were more or less dry. That means if the thickness of the rings are wider, that means the year is more favorable or environmentally very much beneficial. But if the rings are very narrow in the size, that means the year is dry year. That means the less rainfall occurred or some drought. Exactly, if you come in a science of dendrochronology, the annual growth layers of trees may be assigned to the specific year of their formation. That is, the rings which is very much close to the bark, that is the year, recent year. Suppose if we collect, okay, let me tell you one thing. Since in this webinar series, many students like MSc student, BSc student are also joined. So I'm going from basic of dendrochronology to some advanced case study. So let me bear with this. So the rings which is very much close to the bark, that is the year of collection. Like suppose if we collect tree rings or a tree ring sample this year, 2020, then the rings which is close to bark is 2020 years. That is year 2020. And the rings which is very close to the center, that is the oldest ring. So these three rings are annually resolved. It shows continuous record because each ring forms in 1 year. That means it shows annual records. And the history of changes in the tree's environment may be reconstructed using various properties of annual tree rings. Based on the thickness and other parameters, we can reconstruct several history which is recorded by trees. That I'll come in later part. Tree rings are formed in both conifers and angiosperm form of plant. In conifers, the late wood and early wood branch are clear. But if you go in angiosperm, the rings boundary are not very much clear. But there are two types like diffuse porous and ring porous. In the diffuse porous rings, this is vessels. Vessels are scattered throughout the rings. But in the ring porous, mostly the early wood vessels, that is wider circle vessels, are mostly concentrated in early wood portion, and the smaller diameter vessels are mostly concentrated towards the late wood portion. So in that basis, we can differentiate early wood and late wood. Even we can study these vessels in terms of various analysis. These are the actual tree ring photographs. Like this is from the Devdara tree, mostly growing in the Himalayan region. That is Cedrus devdara. Juniper, mostly these are high altitude plant tree. And the Abies pendro, that is a fir. And the Abies densa, this is mostly growing in eastern Himalayan region. These are the Betula vitalis. This is Betula vitalis, that is Vospatra, what we call in in Hindi or in vernacular language. And this is the teak tree. This is mostly a broadleaf taxa growing in peninsular India, and this Petula utalis mostly forms tree line limit, mostly in the higher altitude elevation region and close to glacier. So why do we do tree ring research? Tree ring has various applications. We can use tree ring or application in, it has application in climatology. We can reconstruct a past drought or cold period, or we can reconstruct the past temperature, precipitation, and even it can be used for various geomorphological study like past earthquake, when the tree rings record the signature of past earthquake, history of stream flow, when the flow are lower or higher, that we can reconstruct. Even we can date the various type of landslides using tree rings. Even the volcanic eruptions are recorded in tree rings. Glacial history, even the history of flood we can remake, and we can also study past forest fires. The fire scars occur in the trees, and even it has some application in forestry management, like forest stand structure and soil erosion, insect spread. Those are the various applications of tree rings. And basically, when we use tree ring in this field, like if you are studying the climate using tree ring or dendrochronology, then the suffix will change as a, in place of chronology, it will come climatology. So it's become dendroclimatology. This is development of past, a record of past climate. Similarly, if you are going to study hydrology, then it will become dendrohydrology. This way, archaeology, hydrology, glaciology, volcanology, chemistry, ecology, pyrochronology, that is dating of forest fire, entomology, if you are going to study the insect, this way. So dendrochronology research in the in climate research, when we study, that become dendroclimatology. So my main talk is on dendroclimatology. So let us begin with the dendroclimatological concept. Why we study dendroclimatology? Like if you see weather, like if these are the cuttings of the newspaper, we usually get the daily, like today's temperature is this much, that 33.6 degree, and minimum and maximum. So these are the short-term environmental records, and these are called weather. So if we have this record for longer time period, like 30 years, then that will become climate. And WMO also that specify the period of 30 years record of weather pattern is called the climate. But if you see the network of climate station, if you go further back in time, the network of station become lesser, and recently it has increased. Even if you see in Himalayan region, the network of climate station is very sparse, and that too is in higher elevation region, these are very less. In Western Himalaya region, you have very longest record of Srinagar in Kashmir, that extend from 1893 to recent, and similar record are starting from 1867. And in Eastern Himalaya region, there are very less long record. In Darjeeling, it is started in 1855, but it is completely absent since till 1890. Then again, there are so many missing values. But in lower altitude, there are some records available. Like in Uttarakhand, Muktesar record is longest record that extends from 1897 to till date. So why we are interested in Himalayan region to study dendroclimatology? Because Himalaya, if you see the Himalayan region or entire Hindu Kush Himalayan region, these are the drivers of the strongest monsoon system on the globe. It has a source of 10 major river system, so that the people who are living downstream, they get benefited with the amount of water availability, and it helps in various factors like the tourism or the daily livelihood, all these things. And this Himalayan region is also the largest reservoir of ice outside the polar region, like Arctic and Antarctic. It has high diversity in culture, tradition, and knowledge, languages. It has high biodiversity hotspot. Even the Eastern Himalayan region is considered as a high biodiversity hotspot. So, to understand the climate of this region, we actually require a long-term climate record. But you have just seen that the whatever network of climate station available in the Himalayan region that are sparse and also available for shorter time period. So we want to extend this climate record, that instrumental climate record, to further beyond the existing instrumental record to get the proper dynamics of the climate in this region. So for that, we at Birbal Institute of Paleosciences, a dendrochronology division, use various type of conifer and broadleaf taxa from both western and eastern Himalayan region. These are the list of western Himalayan tree, and these are the eastern Himalayan trees. I'm not going in every taxa, but and moreover, we collect the tree ring sample right from the subtropical belt to close to glacial, that is tree line, in both the eastern and western Himalayan region. And these trees sometimes respond similar climate and sometimes different. These are some of the trees which is growing, still growing and very, very old. Like this is the bristlecone pine, Pinus longevia, that is still growing. And in Himalayan region, mostly trees are 2000 years old. So this is the oldest, still growing, oldest living tree, that is 5068 years. So you can imagine if we built a chronology of this pine tree, and we can reconstruct the history of climate of 5000 years. And it is already built actually. So before going to the dendroclimatel study, we have to collect the samples. So how to collect the samples of trading in the field? We usually use this kind of increment borer, which is called increment borer, and this has to insert inside the tree, and we have to just bore this tree. And a pencil-like structure, this is the tree ring sample, will comes out from this hole. And with the help of this spoon, this is called extractor or spoon, we can collect the samples, and we have to pack in one like cold drink straw or in a paper, a newspaper, and we have to carefully bring in a laboratory. So, but before collecting sample, we have to take care which site we have to select. This is one of the important principle of dendrochronology. In this principle, we have to select the trees which are growing in a slope or in a harsh environment, so that it can capture a proper climatic signal. If you collect the sample from the site which is very close to water table, then we don't get any variation in the rings. There is no variation. So it is very difficult to date. But if you collect the sample from the harsh environment, you can easily date, and there is a variation. So these are the tree rings, close lookup tree rings after collecting from the course. And this we have to mount. So for mounting, we use a wooden block. In this wooden block, this should be placed. And sometimes the core get twisted, then we have to make it straight. So for that, we have to do the steam, and then with the help of a masking tape or a thread, we can just tie these rings and the samples, and we keep it overnight dry, and then it looks something like this. But it is not properly visible. Then what we have to do? Then we have to become a carpenter. I mean, just like carpenter job, we have to polish the surface of these tree rings, and for this we use a sanding machine. Sometimes we do by hand, and finally we get a very clear rings. I already said in the second slide that is a white band and dark band. So here it is clearly showing the white band and the dark band, and this white band and dark band constitute one rings, that is annual. So how many rings we can see? This is a webinar, so nobody is going to answer, but let me check how many complete ring is visible. So this is actually a 5 complete ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is some rules. I'm not going in detail, but for counting, we have to do some certain kind of marking, like first ring, 10th ring, 50 rings, 100 ring, that we usually mark with the pencil, so that we can later, when we see a sample, then we can easily recognize, okay, this ring is a 50 years, 60 years, or 100 years. So, but simply counting a rings doesn't mean that the samples are like 500 years old or 400 years yours. There are some complications. So Why can't we just count the rings back in time? It is because there are so many complications that exist. Like sometimes, if you collect the samples from here, like suppose if you count from this region, it has 3 rings, but if you count from the lower side, it becomes 4 rings. So this is a problem. Sometimes we observe wedging ring, all the rings are merged here. So by accidentally, if we collect the samples from this portion, then we get maximum missing ring. Some are very micro rings that we have to take caution while counting. Some are this pinching ring. It's all merged. Sometime in higher altitude region like in conifer Devdar, some raging ducts occur. So with this raging duct, we get confused whether this is the actual ring or not. So we have to make very carefully have to count. Another problem, the tropical trees. In tropical trees, most of the in tropical trees, annual ring doesn't form because there is no seasonalities is occur there. But there are few trees which forms a few broadleaf or tropical trees are formed annual rings. Like in India, we have a tuna, that is Tuna ciliata, and then segun, that is called Tectona grandis, that forms annual rings. And to date the sample, that is the rings which is very close to bar and ring which is very close to center, what is the date of that particular ring, or what is the date of the ring which is like say, let us say 20th ring from the center. Date means calendar year. We have to specify calendar year. Then for that to specify the calendar year dating, we are always follow the principle of cross dating. For that, we collect maximum sample. Like if you are going to in one forest, one side, then at least we have to collect more than 30 trees. And we usually collect 2 samples from the one tree, one from one direction and another from opposite direction. Then we match the pattern of that rings of each core. Then after finalizing that, okay, the patterns are perfectly matching, then we can say, okay, this sample there is no error in the sample. If the two samples are not matching, then we have to make a plot, a graphical representation of plot. Then we have to compare. Like here, the principle of cross dating is like that we can extend the record, our record. Like this is the sample from the trees, living tree, and there is some pattern. And this sample is from the dead tree. So you can say that when this dead tree are dead or become dead, or it has been cut. So if the samples patterns are perfectly matching, then this the last year rings, you can say that is 1917 is the year in which this tree is become dead. So this sample is from the house, the log used in the building a house. So we can extend this record also. After matching the pattern of these 3, we can extend this our chronology or the time period of this sample, and in the meantime we can date this sample also. Like now we can say that this particular ring is exactly formed in which year. This ring is formed in 1850. We didn't knew that when it was cut. We can say that it's 1898 or 1900. This log was procured from the tree to build a house. So this is the principle of chronology. Almost the similar kind of result. The pattern of this log or hood can be matched by visual inspection. And we usually prepare a plot, that is a manually built plot, that is the skeleton plot. This is called the skeleton plot, and by here we usually mark the most narrow ring, and you can see the narrow rings pattern is usually matched from one sample to another sample. And after this we combine all the samples and make one master plot, and in that master plot we can assign the date of each year, and when we bring one sample to this, then we can date the sample. This is a lengthy process, so it needs another complete lecture. So but here I am just telling you that we can date the sample with the help of by averaging many samples. Here this is the same. And then after dating each rings of each sample, then we have to measure each ring. with the help of the microscope and measuring machine. Then it will go to computer the value of each rings. Then this is some kind of average of entire sample what we collect from one region or one site. So this is and in trading term or in dendrochronology term, the term is a chronology, that is a trading chronology. So here this is the average values of all the sample, and the chronology length is right from 1640 to 2018 sorry 2014 I think. So this is the trading chronology. So with the help of this trading chronology we can study climate pattern. So I'm not now I'm going to give some application. So climate reconstruction, the branch of climate reconstruction is called dendrochronology using trading. So let me summarize a brief methodology part: sample collection, then the processing, counting of each ring, then the plotting, then we measured each rings, then we prepare trading chronology, and this trading chronology has to compare with the climate of the station, meteorological station, from the nearest meteorological station. After that, we usually reconstruct. So here, the red plot is the instrumental climate, and this blue one is reconstructed. That means we have the instrumental climate record of, let's say, 1900 to 2015. So with the help of climate, with the help of trading, we have extended the this 100 years record to back in time to entire almost back in 300 years. So in visualization, you can see like this way. So this is the trading sample, and this red one is the climate data and the trading data. Then that trading data is translated into reconstructed climate data. So technically we got a longer climate record based on the trading record. So this is one of the case study from the Western Himalayan region. The temperature, we have collected the samples of the pine, that is the Pinus volition, that is blue pine, from the Pahalgam region of the Kashmir Valley, and this is the climate of the Leather Valley. The climate of that Leather Valley is only available from 1979 to 2013. Okay, so here with the help of this trading, okay, this is the trading chronology of Pinus voliciana, that is blue pine. It extends till 1840 to 2014, and this is the sample depth. And when we compared with the climate record, that is temperature and precipitation and trading, we got a signal that is that this tree is responded very positive correlation with the significant correlation with the temperature of the winter month. So once we get the winter month climatic signals significantly, then we can reconstruct the winter month temperature record. So here, this is the calibration verification, and this is the observe and estimated. So with the help of this, a transfer function has been developed, and with the help of that transfer function, we have reconstructed the temperature of this winter season from this Leather Valley till 1850. So this record shows that the importance of this record is that everyone is saying that the temperature is rising. So in Himalayan region, most of the studies says that the winter temperature is rising much. So how much rising is happening? So with the help of this record, we can say during 160 years, in recent 30 years, the temperature has been rise drastically. So and this reconstruction, how we can validate our reconstruction, that depends upon the various type of statistical analysis, that is the calibration verification statistics. If we have the small short-term climate record, then we have to leave one out cross validation statistics. If we have a long climate record like 100 years, then we can divide the climate record in two different parts, that is the split method. That is another concept. Then we compared with other records, reconstruction of the adjoining region. In almost all the records, the temperature are rising in recent 30 decades. This is another reconstruction from the same region, and here another species, that is Cedrus deodara, that is deodar tree, has been used for training analysis, and we have collected training samples of Cedrus deodara from 2 different sites of the Pahalgam region, and both of these data sets are combined in one record, and it extends from 1640 to 2013, and these are based then. Again, this record has been compared with the climate record, the precipitation and temperature. Here in this case, we use a district data set of Anantnag, and here we have seen that April, May, June, these 3 months, precipitation signal is positive with the chronology of the Cedrus deodara, and at the same time that there is a negative correlation with the temperature. That means the moisture signal is very important for growing this tree, and moisture signal we can reconstruct. So in this case, we have reconstructed precipitation. Here the calibration verification has been done in different way, because we had 110 years of climate record. So we use different climate type of calibration and verification. That's one, the climate data are divided into 2 equal parts. One data set is calibrated and prepared training part. Then again, that training period has been translated to validation period. This way, we have validated our reconstruction. So here we have recorded various type of like upper threshold and lower threshold, and that this triangle mark, these are the upper one, the blue one is mostly coincide with the flood record and the pluvial record. That is, moisture is higher. And the lower one, the red one, this lower down arrow, these are mostly matched with the already available historical drought record of that region, or in the Western Himalaya region. We have checked the spatial correlation of this record with other gridded climate data set, and it has showing a very strong correlation in this region. Similarly, we can reconstruct the apart from temperature and precipitation, the drought. That is there are many kind of droughts, like and drought matrices, in fact, like PDSI, Palmer Drought Severity Index, and the modified one is the SCPDSI, that is self-calibrated PDSI. There are other kind of drought, SPEI, SPI, all are based on different calculation. So we used a record from the Nepal, from Dolpo Lake region, and these are the climate record of that area. This is the chronology of pinus, that is blue pine, extending from around 1610 and to recent 2015. And here what we did a special correlation. Firstly, in the previous study, we correlated our training series with the instrumental climate record, one station climate record. But here, what we did, we selected some gridded climate record of entire region, and this is the training site. So this training chronology has been correlated with this grid, this way, entire grid. And we found that this particular 12 grid record has higher correlation. And since here also temperature is a negative and precipitation is positive signal, then again we can say there is a moisture, with the help of, we can reconstruct the moisture signal. And here in this case, we reconstructed drought, that is SCPTSI, that is self-calibrated PTSI, for the month of October to I forgot. Yes, for February to August. So this is here the climate gridded record for calibration verification is used from 1957 to 2015, and the reconstructed temperature, SCPDSI is extended till almost 1780. And here the extreme drought are calculated based on the mean minus 1 standard deviation. So all those values which are below this line are extreme drought here. Again, these are compared with the other drought or precipitation record from the adjoining region, and mostly we have seen in the decreasing trend in here, and most of the other time period are also perfectly matched. So apart from trading application in climate or climate reconstruction, there are some other applications also of trading. These tradings are I already explained and in previously that it has application in stream flow reconstruction and other things. So here I am giving some of the examples from the Himalayan region. Like we can study a fire scar with the help of tree. So these are the fire scars. When the fire occurs, some fire scars formed in the tree rings. So if we know the year of this particular ring, then we can say that in that particular year a fire occurred. So in this way, we can build a fire history of the area. In India, we don't have the natural fire, but in the US, there is a very beautifully recorded forest fire history, and there are many tree studies which deals with the forest fire record. Here, from the eastern Himalaya region, a training has been utilized to reconstruct the temperature of the summer month. And here, the most of the lower temperature has been recorded that coincide with the known volcanic event. And this is the 1815 eruption of Tambora, the Mount Tambora eruption, which is considered as the largest volcanic event in the last millennium. And this has been perfectly recorded. And even due to this volcanic year, that 1816 has been, it is known as the year without summer or without sun. We can use the tree ring study to study the flood mark. Here, one study we have carried out during World Dendro training program in Bhutan. So here, the tree samples, some sections are collected from a tree which is growing nearest to the river, and we dated samples. And this is the 2009 ring, 2009 years 9 ring. There is one. This is one true ring, and this is a flood scarring. This ring flood scarrings formed. So we can say that these are the flood scars. But how we came to know that this 2019 year ring was the flood scar ring? Because we know that in 2019 there was a cyclone occurred in the eastern Himalaya region which came from the Bay of Bengal side, and that is called the cyclone Ayla cyclone. And here, this is the storm track recorded from integrated water vapor transport, and with the help of this, and the almost all the sample whatever we have collected from that along that river, it has the flood scar in year 2009. There are some other flood scar also we got, that is 1889, 1967, and some other. But most of the trees recorded this flood year because it was very devastated flood. Moreover, we apart from ring, like these studies are based on the annual rings of the trees. But we can study other features of the tree ring like early wood, late wood, cell size, vessel size, and even we can use the chemistry of the tree ring. Like we can separate each rings and we can analyze those rings for cellulose extraction, and with the help of that cellulose extraction we can use oxygen isotope and carbon isotope. So with the help of oxygen isotope we can reconstruct the moisture source and the precipitation signal or the drought signal of mostly in Himalayan region. And these are some of the steps which I have learned during my INSA visit in China and in XTBG. And these are the process, how we have separated the rings and how this has been treated with the various acid alkali treatment. And finally, this is a cellulose. And this cellulose we can measure oxygen isotope. So the few take home messages are the whatever study we have carried out. Based on this study, we can say that there is the need of spatial linkages in terms of climate calibration and global teleconnection patterns. And whatever climate, that is past climate reconstruction are needed in both temporarily and spatially. Especially means we have to reconstruct the climate in a spatial scale, because we have a different climate zone in eastern Himalaya, western Himalaya. So we have to see what are the which tree rings are responding in which climatic signal, whether this is especially coming in the same pattern or a different pattern, what are the factor is playing important role. These things we have to study, and it is still lacking and need to be further proceed, and for to understand the broader perspective of the climate dynamics of the Himalayan region. And there is another things we have to, and now there is a time to bring together the policymaker and climate researcher, because there is a big gap between the policymakers of climate policymaker and the climate researcher. Unless and until if you don't understand what policy we have to make, or what are the climate record or the reconstruction is basically needed for these policy things, then if you understand, or if you fulfill this gap, then that will be a very good we can say a good research, or we can bring together this both the government policies and research together. And last year, because in tree rings we usually organize conferences, last year we at Birbal Sahni Institute of Paleosciences with our dendrochronology department and BSIP, and with the help of our director, we organized one conference, that is Asian Dendrochronology Conference. It's what a sixth Asian Dendrochronology Conference. It held every 2 years in different Asian countries. So last year it was organized here in BSIP, and more than 12 countries participant came to attend this conference. So I hope with this afternoon, Thursday afternoon, you have enjoyed the dendrochronology talk. Thank you very much. And if you have any question or query, if you want to contact me, you can email me in this email address. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Santosh, for a very interesting talk. And I mean, I at least got to learn so much, which I definitely didn't know earlier. So we'll just collate all the questions and see if you've got any.
In Gmeet, there is no question.
Yep, I'm just checking the YouTube. So, well, in the meantime, I'll ask you one question. So,
can I?
Yeah, sorry, we have a question here.
This is Vishwas Kale.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaste. Santoshji, I have two questions. One is regarding the teak. I mean, you have done a lot of work in Himalayas, and other people are also working.
Yes, sir.
But why people are not using teak? I mean, what is the problem?
Actually, sir, in fact, I learned reading science in teak. I work in I learned reading science in Madhya Pradesh sample teak, and we have also worked in Kerala teak. The problem is...
Yeah, I'm aware of those Hemant Borgaokar's work. Yeah. But in general, what are the problems in the peninsula?
There is a three problem. Once the samples are difficult to date, so we have to collect maximum sample. And usually the foresters didn't allow sometime that because it has a hard wood, so it makes hole. So that is the different things. But most of the trees, teak trees, are not very old in central region. But in Kerala there is a older tree, and in any case the sampling, that is the dating procedure, is very difficult and it takes time. So this is the one reason, and sometimes the signal is not comes very clear. But still, in some of the record, mostly the monsoon signal is came in tree ring of teak. But any case, we want to work in tree rings of Peninsula India also. So we are trying to collect sample. We want to collect the sample from there also. So let's.
The second thing is you showed us the trees with the scars. I mean, the scar was not very clear, and my understanding was that you should get a gap. And my question is, this scar,
yes, sir.
In what direction it was facing?
in
And with reference to the stream,
stream.
whether it was facing upstream or downstream, or it was facing the river.
It is no, it is in the downstream facing, sir.
Downstream.
Yeah, and the trees which are very close, because when the
Yeah, I know that, but as far as I have seen,
Yes,
they are usually up on the upstream side, and they are created by logs that are washed away during the flood. When they strike the trees on the bank, they create the scar. So normally they should be on the upstream side of the. So you found them on the downstream side.
Yes, sir. Basically, it was actually submerged. That water level was rise, and the trees get submerged. Then, that in that case, this anatomical some discontinuity has been formed, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hi. So I think we have a question here by Rupa Ghosh, and she's asking, what are the factors that affect this technique and its limitations, and what's the maximum age limit?
What are the factors that affect this technique?
Yeah.
Which technique? I didn't understand. And the limitation and its maximum age limit. Rupa, can you?
Yeah. Can you elaborate your question?
Yeah, actually, this is not very much clear to me. And in what sense, actually, she want to ask? What are the factors?
Perhaps she's asking about the cellulose isotopes, perhaps. Rupa, are you there? You can just come up.
Yeah. What factors that affect this technique? Actually, I have narrated many techniques, so I didn't understand actually in what techniques you want to clarify. I didn't understand the question actually.
It's okay. I think I'll take this opportunity to ask my question until we hear from her. So of course, I mean, I the high resolution data that we get from tree rings, it's actually very appealing. And as I work in drylands, and drylands are usually very toxic poor. So I was hoping. I mean, I just know of very limited research in sub-Saharan Africa where people have tried to exploit trees, drylands, and come up with reconstruction. So do you think, especially in India, what's the status like? Do we have some interest? I mean, of course, Himalayas and the peninsular India, they attract a lot of attention from people. But do we have some research or ongoing projects which are, looking at the dryland vegetation and trees there, and possibly use those as a chronometer?
Yeah, that's because the most important criteria to get the tree ring record, that it should form the annual rings. Okay, so if the trees are going there and if it is from the annual rings, then we can collect those samples and analyze. And it at the same time, it also depends how old are the trees.
Yeah.
Because for dendrochronology, if you are getting 100 years old, so that is no use to us in terms of climate research. But if the trees are recording other environmental things on the other environmental factor like fire scare or flood record, or there are other disformity, then it is okay for us. So first we have to check whether the tree is from annual rings or not, and this is the main criteria.
Right. Thank you.
So still we want to search those trees even in dryland also, because if we get even sometime there is last year in dendrochronology conference, one people from the China, he presented a very good work on shrub of desert. Shrub of desert, those small bushes tree, that forms a good annual ring, and those are very old, but that is from the Tibetan plateau. But in India, I don't know. I don't think that very old the shrubs are available. In Himalayan, we have collected some small shrubs that are also 150 to 200 years old. But in the desert region or from dryland, I don't think old trees are available.
Okay, so I think Rupa has responded. So
okay, limitation of dendrochronology. One limitation about the tree samples, like if most of the dendrochronological study we can carry it out in mountainous region. But if you are going to apply the technique of dendrochronology in tropical trees, so there we get only a few species which form annual rings. So this is one limitation of dendrochronology. It is not possible to do dendrochronology or tree ring analysis in most of the broadleaf or tropical taxa. This is the one limitation. And other limitation is we mostly get the tree sample from the terrestrial belt. So if you want to study from the coastal region, then there is a limitation. But there are records. Some of the mangrove trees it forms annual ring, but those are very young, hardly 50 to 60 years. But we don't get like more than 100 years or 200 years. It's not possible. So these are some of the limitations which I know. And other things, if you have some more clarification, then I can tell you.
Thank you. And
limitation, other things like even error. There are some errors. There will be always error. So that is another limitation, because in every reconstruction we get error. So even in dendrochronology, the error is there, but it's very less. But it is also a kind of limitation, because it is a proxy.
I think we don't have any more questions. So
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much, and
providing me this opportunity to speak in the AOKR
and I know
banner.
it was,
And I hope it is benefited to the mostly students.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure, because we've got it on YouTube, and it was a very nice introduction to this very exciting science. So I'm sure a lot of students especially are going to be benefited from it. So, I mean, from the entire team, I thank you again. And I know it wasn't, we had some snags and difficulties, and you kindly agreed to, help us and make sure that the web series is, concluded smoothly. So thank you so much, Santosh. And we really, really appreciate your help. So
I think you have to announce that.
I'm going yes, I was waiting for you to say anything, or if you're not. So, I mean, now that we are done, so I mean, it's time to reflect back on why we started this web series, and what are the takeaways. So, I mean, as we all know, these are really strange times, and the AOQR is still in its very young stage. So we wanted to come up with something to make sure that the quaternary enthusiasts from the Indian subcontinent and beyond can come together, and especially ECRs can benefit from the society. So we started this webinar series, and we've had a very good run. So we've had consistently we had like 200 listeners to as high as 375, and the feedback we have received for each talk has been really very encouraging. And we've got some stats here which we'll be sharing with all of you very soon. So to summarize, almost 95 to 99% of the respondents have said the talks have been from excellent to very good. And we've also received some constructive feedback, which we are definitely going to incorporate next time when we have our next series. And with this, I would like to thank again Dr. Amjad Hussain Laskar, who started the webinar with his talk, and then Dr. Waliur Rahman from National Center for Polar and Ocean Research for his second talk, and then Dr. Madhav Krishna Murari from the Geochronology Group of the Inter-University Accelerator Center, New Delhi, Dr. Parth Chauhan from IISER Mohali, Dr. Gayatri Katayat from Jiatong University, Dr. Sushant S. Naik from NIO Goa, and Dr. Midhun from University of Michigan, and you, Santosh. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the ECR members of AOQR, without who this thing would not have been this successful. So I would like to thank Akash Srinivas from IISER Mohali, Dr. Jyoti Srivastav from BSIP Lucknow, Dr. Linto Alapet from Christ College, Thrissur, Dr. Manoj MC again from BSIP, Dr. Trina Bose from BSIP, Dr. Senthil Kumar Sadasivam from National College, Tiruchirappalli. And I would like to thank Dr. Benita Fartayal and Dr. Pradeep Srivastav as well for spearheading the ECR committee and making sure that we don't have any hiccups on the way. And lastly, I would like to thank Dr. Vandana Prasad, the president of AOQR, who made sure that whatever we needed, right from the technical to moral support, she was there to guide us through. And with this, I thank all the viewers and the listeners.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Yeah. We on behalf of AOQR, I would like to thank our computers, the BSIP computer section, and Dr. Nilay Govind, because he is the person who is behind creating all this YouTube link and most of the technical things. So we would like to thank him for all this technical help to conduct.
Sure, yeah, especially for most of us who maybe not very techno savvy, so that help was, we're really very grateful to them. And yes, thank you for all the listeners and viewers who have been tuning in religiously and making sure that we have constant support from the audience. And with this, we conclude this webinar series. And next week on Monday, that is on the 2nd of November, we are organizing an AOQR INQA ECR interaction. And it's going to be an exciting session. And we're going to be discussing the funding opportunities for 2021, particularly for the young ECRs. We'll also be discussing the Quaternary Perspective magazine, and if anyone wants to get involved, how to do that. And then the ECR team will also be sharing an insight into the Neptune project. And we'll also be having some short presentations by Dr. Francesco Ferrario from Como, Italy, who is the current chair of the INQA ECR committee. Then Dr. Nivedita Mehrotra from BSIP, Dr. Annie Lau from University of Queensland, Australia, Dr. Martin Seliger from Frankfurt, Germany, and Dr. Guido Stefano Mariani from Monserrato, Italy. So there's an exciting lineup, and I really hope to see many of you there for the next session. With this, I thank from the entire ECR group, and see you on Monday.
Thank you, Ayush.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benita ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ayush, for conducting
Thank you,
it. Thank everybody who's there. So now we end the meeting. That's it. So we meet on Monday, 2:30 again. Yeah. And I have a good evening. Bye.